Easy E, how are we?
Johnny, feeling better. I think it's the warm weather.
I was going to the warm weather. Once again, we are an international podcast, and mostly because of you. So we've done podcasts somehow in Alabama because of you. We've been over in Portugal. We've been in Finland. I think you did one over in Germany.
Colorado for one of them as well.
Colorado was another one. Yeah, all over the shop. And I'm just here in a farmhouse in Kildare. I'm very happy with this, but at the same time, you're making a very exotic podcast. So how are you getting on over there?
You're making it sound like I've done it for sporting reasons. Like, international athlete there, going around the world doing marathons. I haven't ran since we got here. I've been in the Cheesecake Factory 3 nights in a row.
Oh, for the love.
Whatever kind of athleticism I had 3 weeks ago is gone. Absolutely gone.
I just built it all up and you tore it on down. I've ran once since the Dublin Marathon last week, and that was today because the dog ran after the horse and I had to run after the dog to stop running after the horse and the sheep in the field. So I had 2 minutes of running and that was it. I got to Wednesday and the body went, oh, we're not running our training this week. Shut down, sneezing, coughing, sneezing. I just feeling like absolute crap. So that's been me since the marathon. And that's my fault for running around Dublin in the pissing the rain last Sunday. So I thoroughly deserved that.
Yeah, and that was me all weekend. I couldn't stop coughing, even the flight. I felt bad on the flight over here. I was just, that trying to cough quietly, like, so that everyone didn't look at me. But it was, it was the first day here. I just wasn't feeling great at all. But the warm has definitely helped sweat it out of me. So yeah, I feel much better. So tomorrow I'll get a little bit of a training session here, my first day back, because I was just so through everything that's gone on. I was just so run down. I just wasn't right. But yeah, feeling really good, full of cheesecake and burritos and everything else in between. So I've enjoyed my holiday, and I suppose one of the things we're talking about, and we did mention the week before, is picking the next goal, picking the next target. Don't leave it too long to get back into things, otherwise you're back into square one. But listening to the body as well. So for me, it's been a very busy 6 months, and this has been my first holiday, because even in Portugal afterwards, it wasn't a holiday. I was going to the next place and doing this. So I've had a week of looking for things, and it's been busy because it's not a tourist holiday. It's getting everything set up before I come home for the next time. But it's actually a bit of downtime, and it's nicely, like, I'm glad I didn't do the marathon. I'm not going to lie. I am so glad I didn't, because the last week of just enjoying whatever I wanted and just chilling out and eating what I wanted. And then it's nice now, Monday starting tomorrow, and it's nice, even though I'm here, start getting back into that routine and following our own advice.
Well, you were one of the 6,000 people who didn't do the marathon last Sunday.
This sounds like me and you are going to have a little bitching session.
I think, I hate giving out about stuff like that, but I'm after reading today, they're talking about how, like, the route might change, because why do we Irish people do this? Instead of being happy we've got something to bring people in, people are giving out about the marathon now, like, oh, it shouldn't be on. Like, it hasn't been on for the last 40 odd years in Dublin. But they're talking, and the routes had changed over the years. They're talking about change routes again because transport, it's very hard to do transport that day in Dublin. But the only one thing we didn't run over in Dublin, we didn't run over a train track, and yet, the Dart was closed in certain parts on Sunday for the marathon. And a couple of years ago, we did in 2019, and they closed between, I think it was Connolly and Dunleary, because it was the one year my ma came to see me. I got me sub 4, and she had to get picked up with Dunleary to come in and see me because the trains were some of the trains shut down. They always do services and works on the trains on the October bank holiday when there's so many people coming in to see it. And when some buses gone off, you think the trains would be even more that day, but no. But the NTA, the National Train Authority or Transport Authority, whatever they're called, I don't care at this stage, are like, no, we need to change this. Like, it's the one big kind of thing we got, and it's the friendly marathon. Yet people outside it seem we just don't want the marathon in Dublin anymore. Just do a Dublin City Marathon out in City West or something, or just have the whole thing to Phoenix Park.
If you can close off portions of New York City, you can swing it for a day. To be honest, like, you're talking about a city with 22 million people, and you can close off a portion of it, and we can't handle a morning up until about 3 o'clock on a Sunday where most people are in bed anyway till midday. The the only ones with the problem with the transport are those coming in to support, because it's well signposted for a month beforehand, and everyone's just like, oh, the marathon's on, I'm just not going near it. Like, look, that's people just giving out for giving out's sake.
On that October Bank Holiday Sunday, lashing rain out. Are you really going into town that day? Up to like 5-6 o'clock before they reopen the roads. Are you really going into things on that one Sunday of the year when we've got something big like that? When you've got, like, I mean, I'm assuming the business in the area will be like, we make a lot of money on this day because of that, and then the nights out and stuff like that, and build around it, because like where we were, it's the one day of the year that we were buying rounds, and I can tell you, I have no idea how much we paid for a pint. Because I was like, feck it. Just have card deserve it. I'm not like I'm loading like that. It helps us at the end of the month, so I know money's coming into the bank account to turn me over to November. But like I met all the time, like, that much for a pint? Really? Like when I was in town a couple weeks before for the American football, I was like, did I actually pay $9.90 for a pint in Temple Bar? What the hell's going on here? But I don't know how much I paid. I genuinely don't know how much I paid that Sunday. It's mad.
Yeah, it is different. But again, I think, like, Dublin is not a big city, in the areas that have been closed off, because most of the supporters, like me, walked from the Phoenix Park to the finish line within 20 minutes. Like the fact that an average transport system has been disrupted for really an hour because most people are not trying to use it until 2 o'clock. It's I'm not buying what they're selling.
I got one better than that, a piss poor transport system. It's because everything goes straight into Dublin, straight out of Dublin. If they've messed up the transport system for 1 year, the marathon kind of makes it slightly worse than piss poor. They're like up in arms. It's Dublin Marathon's fault. Things happen to the marathon, and there's other things that annoy me. Like, apart from all I've seen this week was, 6,000 people didn't turn up. They spelt Nobel, that kind of thing. It's like, well, hang on, still the amount of support and stuff there, it seems like unless you ran the marathon, there was nothing but negative stuff around it. I know we've had our issues with marathon, it's not ran perfectly or anything like that, but it's a hell of a task to do, and yet the only thing we could do is just be begrudgery about it and negative stuff, unless you're in that circle or in a circle of those that were participating in the marathon or saw friends and family doing it.
Yeah, look, it is, and it's one thing we kind of bash it for different reasons. When we seen the medal, we were like, because on a participant side, you want a good medal or whatever it is. And I think that's where, when people are paying for something and there's spelling mistakes and there's this and there's that, and because everyone has the same impression. The fact that we say something means that probably 1,000 other runners are probably like, yeah, do you know what? I kind of felt the same. And that's why people tune in. Is like, am I mad for thinking that? And then we say it, and then the Irish Times are writing about it. Well, let us tell you, Irish Times, we said you need to let people transfer the name of the ticket up to the before.
They do that in New York. I had to look into it. In New York, if you cancel, and the New York Marathon was ran, we're recording this on a Sunday evening, was ran today, you can cancel literally the up to midnight before, and you'll get entry into the following year. And just that system, the system needs to change a little bit. I mean, no, it's perfect in the whole thing, but
listen, okay, midnight before now is a bit short notice for someone to go, bing, you're in. They'd be like, what? Can't get.
Oh no, that's just cancelled. That's not being transferred to someone else. That's just being into the next one. But at the same time, New York, you're also paying $300 for a ticket, whereas here it's $110. So I mean, if you pay $200, well, for example, if you paid €250, €300 for the Dublin Marathon, I think you would have ran the streets of Dublin on Sunday. I'm not saying they should up the price to that much, but I think you would have done it.
Probably would have given it a go. But everything is relative in terms of the pricing of things, and that's quite an expensive race. Like, and for me,
it's not amazing.
Up until the Friday, I was like, I've paid for this race, I'm gonna do it, and it was just like logic and sickness took over then. But I still think, though, 16 weeks nearly. Maybe I'm wrong with that figure, but I'm nearly certain it sticks in my head that it's around the time of a full marathon training program time that they cut off the change of name.
Month of June, if I'm not mistaken, which would be July, August, September, October, 4 months, roughly 16 weeks. So once you start your training, the transfer window's gone.
I think that's July, but and then that's the argument is, how did 6 of all the marathons in the world, Dublin has the worst drop off. Why is that? Because it's the only marathon in the world that says you can't give your ticket to someone else before you've even started your training program. Do you know, like, how do you know your knee is going to give way in 9 weeks' time? You know, like, and other people for these other majors know they're on a waiting list, or know they're on a cancellation list, or know they're in the next round that's coming 3 weeks before. So they train anyway. And as soon as that ticket comes, they're like, I'm in. I've got my ticket. I've stayed on the waiting list. Same with the Art O'Neill. People are waiting for people to not take the ticket to get it in the next round, you know, and hopeful, and I'll keep training, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But that's just something they need to look at themselves. You know, this is the age of technology. Like, to swap a name on a registration number should be easy, and they can make more money. You could charge €30 to change it, whatever you want to do. But like, you know, like, from a business perspective, it actually makes you more money on the day. You've done nothing, only have someone fill out someone else's details, and you've made more money on the same fucking ticket. Like, so, yeah, look, you know, they can give out about the turnout of people, but that's not people's faults. Life happens, and it happened to 6,000 people. It happened to me. It happened to everyone else. You know, like, it's just what it do. And part of it is the lottery system as well. The people are just getting tickets the day after because they're like, I might do it. You know?
I mean, so, I got my ticket. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm in. And God knows where I'll be next year. But like, I bought my ticket. I'm like, just in case. But now I obviously intend to do it every year. Yeah. But I'm sure there's other people like, I better get this one just in case.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And then just in case doesn't work out because they can't swap the name and yada yada yada. And then we're back into that same circle of 6,000 people not taking part. But
and I know we're comparing it to New York now, which is, I know, a big major compared to Dublin. But I was reading last year, like, I think 50,000 do New York. Over 47,000 finished the race, like 500 didn't. So that's like 48,000 attempted the marathon. So out of 50,000, 48,000, which is percentage-wise, I don't know, what's a 4% double? I can't remember. But anyway, 4,000, I can't remember. But it's a lot smaller percentage-wise than it is 6,000 out of 22,500. That's a huge figure compared to 2,000 less than 50,000.
And like, and all you have to look down to is organization. That is it. There's nothing to blame, because if I had a ticket and I bought it as a just in casey because I don't want to get involved in the lottery, and I always do a marathon, like, we've built it into part of our year nearly. You know, it's October bank holiday weekend. What's your plans? Oh, well, I know what I'm doing. And a lot of people are like that, in fairness, because once you get one marathon in your belt, you want to do that again and again and again. And, you know, next year comes around, you're like, Jesus, I didn't think I was going to be in this position at this stage. Or, you know, you have to maintain flexibility up to 3 weeks before. That long run weekend is decision time for anyone to change their ticket. And that's what they need to start doing. I guarantee if they did that, or took me on as the new race director of Dublin City Marathon, I guarantee you we'd have that number easily if you were just able to hand that over. Because I know people who would have taken a marathon ticket last minute.
Yeah.
And it was like, no problem. But no one would even give up their ticket because they were banning people for giving their ticket away now. They made a big deal about it on the half marathon.
Because I saw in the Facebook groups, a lot of people got banned and had to email and state their case. And I would say a lot more would have passed their tickets on to other people. Now, I don't know how they found out, whether it was like those that they looked at times and realized, hang on, this person's a 2 hour half marathon. All of a sudden, they're competing for the top 10 spots, because what came out a post was they waited a couple of days after announcing the finalists of the top 10 for the half marathon, because there were some discrepancies. So maybe they looked at that and then started working their way down. But since that, I'm not going to try and get people sign. I'm not going to give away my ticket when I saw what was going on with the half marathon. So maybe that happened at that stage where people are like, you know what, that would have got close to 2,000 or 3,000 to your point, except it was like, well, if I do this, I'm the one that gets banned. It's not the person that runs it, because they'll never find out the person who runs it. Just ask at the end, who was that person? No, that was Johnny whatever, you know. Yeah. But they just know, they just know the person who handed the ticket. That would have been Seán Coffey's number, because he collected the day before. And I noticed when I did collect your ticket and my ticket, they went straight away, sticker. Because you usually get asked that, or usually get to a sticker in the bag. They put their name on the number straight away, and it was like, there you go. Because that was the first year I ran with the sticker, the name on it. I don't know why, but it was the first name I ran with my name on it. But that's because your one literally went and stuck it on. They're probably told.
And look, it's if you want to be punitive, you have to give people the option. You know, if you want to be punitive with it, you have to have given them an option to have rightfully handed over their ticket to someone who has availability to run. And you can have that number instantly. You could have that number by allowing that change of name up to 3 weeks before. Because at the end of the day, up to 3 weeks before, does that person who's handing out my ticket in the hall care that Eric Lawless is going to be there, or that Seán Coffey is going to be there?
Yeah.
They don't care. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is on that Friday and Saturday that a person aside a booking ID number arrives and produces their ID. And that name is only published to them probably 2 or 3 days beforehand, and they get to print the A4 pages by 100 and they give it out to the whole team and user this number to that number, and that is the way it is. Like, it's so anyway.
I just think the whole thing's a shame because it's like such a big event. It's the friendly marathon. A lot of good things happen that day, and all we're talking about even now, we're sucked into it now, that negativity, that this didn't go right, that didn't go right, and change the route, and because transporting trains and everything else, and it's just
I did say it could be my last Dublin Marathon for a while.
On that note, I don't even think there's any point, but we'll hit the intro music.
This is only the intro.
Wow, I don't want to go from there. Let's
hit
go.
The music.
I think that could be the longest intro we've ever done, and where we're going from here after you've been in Cheesecake Factory and me is splitting my guts up from the last couple of days. Like, between the two of us, we ran 200 meters. You probably ran to Cheesecake Factory the first day or two, I'd say, when you saw it.
I was quick enough in there anyway. But it's definitely going to be different. So the weather is changing over here, and there is a triathlon club out here that I have found. Try Dubai. So depending on where I'm working and where I'm going to end up, there's definitely a lot to be considered. Like, even when we were looking for apartments, like, it's mad. Like, you're involved in it when you're walking around somewhere going, would my trainer fit there? It wasn't where would the kitchen table goes. Where are we going to store the 2 bikes? Where are we going to put this? Where are we going to put that? So definitely the move hasn't very much involved the sport, which is an absolute bizarre concept.
I haven't, because of my one work schedule is I work a lot of evenings. The evenings change. I know I always work every Monday, Wednesday evening, but during the week they can always change. Sometimes I work on Saturdays, so I can't really do running clubs, but I would love to. Whereas you, on the other hand, you've kind of done a fair few events, like your Missing the Battle Head or your different bike runs and stuff. How much different have you found it going with triathlon clubs and stuff compared to going on your own? Because I know you do this year, you got a trainer to help you get you through the Ironman. Comparing this to a couple of years ago when you were doing the triathlons pretty much by yourself, I know you had people like training with and stuff like that, whereas this time you've had a lot more structure in terms of getting advice off people that have done it. I think myself and yourself have both benefited from the podcast and getting that advice and stuff, and it's helped me getting through. I feel like to get to the next level, I need to get to like an Alex club or something like that, or something. I don't know if it's greater accountability, or like when you train, you only train like so much in mind you think you're done. Where if you're running beside someone, you always feel like you can go that little bit more. And you're talking about getting triathlon clubs. Long-winded question, but how much of a benefit do you find having that club or even that coach this year compared to previous years?
Accountability. So I look at it in a few parts. One part is accountability. When you're left on your own in bed with the choice of, do you get up now at 6 and do the run? Because if you don't go, nobody's let down, only yourself. But if you have told Seán or whoever it is, I'll meet you at 6, we're running 10K. When you wake up at 5:30 and you're like, oh, I really don't want to go. And then you snooze it for 5 minutes, then you're like, oh, he's going to be there. He's waiting. And then you go. And then before you know it, you're out there, you're running your 10K. Then you're back at 7, showered, and you're like, I am so glad, because I would not, if it was just me, I was asleep till 9. Yeah. So accountability is probably one of the things that got me through, and the bit I enjoyed most about not being on my own. If I had an accountability partner or a training partner, and to me, a club is that. So if you say you're going to be at the swim session at 6 in the morning, 10 of your buddies are going to be there, or 10 of your we'll call them your training colleagues, I suppose, or your training partners at that stage. That is one of the things you don't get on your own. Now, it was really hard to be self-motivated. Discipline, consistency. Sometimes couldn't be in two places at once and one thing had to give. But that wasn't because of a lack of discipline. It was because of a lack of time at certain elements. So I learned a lot from how to be disciplined on myself. And I probably ended up being really hard on myself. And that's a good thing about a club as well, because you find that balance. You find people who will balance you out. You'll find people who are really above you to give you something to aim towards, and who are below you, which gives you confidence to encourage others.
Yeah.
That you're not the beginner, or you're not, because a lot of the times you can feel like the worst person at the sport, especially when you're on your own. Whereas other people are just getting started in their journey, and you're like, oh yeah, well look, actually, when I was struggling to swim, here's something I did, and you can pass the nugget on to someone. Then you just become part of this team that just helps each other. And that's kind of that second part of that element, is you can be really hard on yourself on your own, and sometimes when you're with a group, you can balance yourself out. You can be like, sometimes when I was cycling my own or Lorcan, they'd be like, just go easy on yourself, man. You're only getting it, and it's just like, I want to be world champion. Lance Armstrong hasn't got a patch of it, and all of a sudden it's just like, just go easy, you've done great. And it's like, do you know what I am doing? I'm trying, and that balancing factor can be there. And then lastly is something that I probably picked up through the soccer years younger, and something that you said, in order to reach the next level, and it was something that always stuck with me: when you play with better, you get better.
Yeah.
And because they have a high expectation of you. So if you want to get in the ring with the big people, they have an expectation of you. Do you get me? They expect you. Oh, you're going to sit in my wheel, and if you don't, you're on your own. And it's like, oh my God, I can't let them down.
You're almost dragged up to that level, like
drag it up. And when you just hold on to, and I just say it as a hold on to someone's coattails. Like, if you can hold on to someone's coattails for a little while, all of a sudden, you no longer need to hold on as tight. You can hold on with one hand, and then all of a sudden, you're not holding on at all. You might be using their draft. Don't get me wrong. There's still some people that I'll never catch, but you don't need to grip them, as how you can kind of stay with them for a little while, and then all of a sudden, you're no longer your average Joe. You're actually putting yourself in a percentile. You're like, do you know what? I'm actually improving. I have gotten better. I've gotten to a stage I don't think I would have gotten to on my own. And that's something what happened when I trained with people for a little bit. And when I did the Mizzen to Malin and was surrounded by people who were great on the bike and being pushed by them, and and you'd no choice, because the group went on, whether you liked it or not. You either sat in the van or you cycled. So there's that element of, do not sit in the van.
Anyway, that van.
And I have had days on my own where, do you know what, just too tired, and I did. I was just like, I'm going on the couch. I've had enough of this. Whereas if I'm in a training session with others, you can have an off day, but you still stay in the game. You still keep going. You always get that extra 20-30% when you're with the group. So for me, to answer your long question with a long answer to a few different factors, for me, I'm tired of being on my own.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of being just the plod along. So my training was to just survive, because I knew I was going to be on my own. Whereas this time, in order to just enjoy it a little bit, I just want to see where I can get to. I'm not going to be a professional athlete. I just want to see how average I can be, if that makes sense. That's a bizarre statement, and I just said it to you just before you asked me, what's the average time for the New York Marathon? I was like, anyone who does a marathon is not average. That is a base point to start. If you're going out doing 42K, you're not average.
True.
So whatever you do a marathon in, you did a marathon. You're not average. But in our world, when you've done a few of them, you're like, right, how am I better than some people? The competitive edge kicks in. But for me, in order to improve, I need to be in the pool with people who are swimming hard, people who can be hard on me, if that makes sense. Be like, you're better than this, work harder. That was crap. Why are you feeling sorry for yourself? I need that extra little bit, I think, to push me along. And it'll be interesting to see, with a little bit of that structure, surrounded by other people who are trying their best, and a little bit of a competitive edge, how far can I actually go? Like, what could be could I make a sub-5 half Ironman, for example? Everyone talks about the sub-5 and sub-10. Could I ever get there? I don't know. But if I don't mix it with people who are better than me, I'll never get up to that level.
Yeah. For people who are interested, it was 4:39 for guys was the average. But there is something about, to, like, let's say you're Friday night, you're out, and you're like, will I have a few drinks or not? oh, I have to do a long run in the morning. Yeah, I might. But if you know, instead of I have to do a long morning, is I've got a club session at 8 o'clock in the morning. That changes
Yeah,
things. That helps you get up in the morning a little bit more, or make different plans to go, oh, I might go and do a bit of shopping, or do this or do that or the other. It's like, no, I have to go to this is a club session, this is part of the club. I'm letting down others, even though we say it is, but isn't an individual sport. It's like I have to be there.
and that is why park runs have been so successful. Because people like the idea of getting out for their 5K. They don't like the idea of doing it on their own. And when you go to one park run, you're like, I know nobody here. You do 2 park runs, you're like, oh, I recognize them. They wore the blue shoes last week, and then the pink hat and the this and that. And oh yeah, the third week was like pink hat. Her name's Siobhan.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're 10 weeks in, and you're like, will we see you next week? Oh, I'm actually on holidays next week. See you the week after. And they're like, oh yeah, and you become part of the community, and then it becomes part of you because you want to see the people you interact with a similar interest. And that's what's so important of it. And then in the end, then it's all about network, and for us as expats who are moving over here, it's to get to know people, so the easiest way to meet anyone is either through maths, because it's the same in every language, or through sport, because it's the same in every language. So you don't have to, sometimes when you're trying to, like even me trying to meet people in circles in the career and trying to get into, or the job and trying to get into it, they don't care. They really don't care. It's a job. They're like, yeah, we don't care about you. Whereas you go to a triathlon club, they're like, hey, welcome. I'm from Australia. I'm from here. I'm from there. We just like going for a swim, run, cycle. Do you want to come? It's like, yeah, okay. And then you can talk about what do you do? What do you do? And, over a beer. And then all of a sudden you have a couple of social friends, So, and that's why sport, I think, is so important. And it's such a really important attribute for travel, or any kind of interest or hobby is just really important for travel, to go and meet people, but in particular sport, because you meet similar people. You meet similar people and like-minded active people, and it usually leads to a good adventure as well, because you will pick up nuggets of, oh, I wouldn't go with that company for your electricity, or I wouldn't get that internet. I got to do. You get so much nuggets on a little chat on a cycle. Or no, look, I haven't taken part in anything yet, but that is the plan over the next year, and get to meet people. And even in your local area in Ireland, go back to Ireland, you're buying a house in Kildare town, you're like, oh, like go down to the local guy, it's a good way to meet people and make connections and find out the lay of the land.
You're doing full circle now, because one of the times I started getting to know you was back in college, and of course you end up being like the clubs and societies officer and stuff, and that's a great way to get to know people in college, is jump into your sports team or your society team, and 10 years later you're still hitting me with this spiel and this big pitch and stuff. It's like you're going for re-election all over again.
Funny enough, I didn't even think of that. When I was doing that little spiel, I didn't even think of that. I would have used it as an example. Yeah, but it's something that is true. It's just the easiest when you have a common interest. It's the easiest hello. Yeah. The hardest bit for anyone, and it's true for everything, even your first time in a gym, is making the first step to just arrive and be the stranger. That's such a hard skill. It's such a daunting thing for people as well, is to be the stranger for the first day, or the first 3 days, the first 3 weeks. But very quickly you start to get a voice. You start to, blend in, understand the jokes, and if I can give anyone advice over this next little Christmas period, is try and find your next out of comfort zone group, or the group that you just want to show up and just give it a go. The hardest bit is going the first time and being the stranger and trying to remember 10 names. And, it is really difficult, but particularly after the marathon, and people who just want to get involved with something, like a lot of everyone, we have gotten so busy again. It's one thing I've noticed since COVID. I don't know, is it because COVID happened and everyone got quiet? Now it just feels like everyone is busy, or this, I don't know what it is, but I do think if they can involve themselves in some sort of group, it's busy in a good way, because you're kept to a time, and you should keep that time, because then it's you time. Your phone's off, you're doing your sport, you're just having a basic conversation with people, and everything else can be eaten away, but it's forgotten about for an hour. So it's just something I think is really, really important. And if I was looking after my marathon for stuff to get involved, if you did a lot of marathon training on your own, it's hard to go again. We've done it for I don't know how many years now. I've been training on my own, and I'm done. I'm done being on my own. I want to be pushed. I want to just, show up to the sea with 8 other people and be like, oh, we're all going swimming, like instead of facing down a lake on my own, so it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. But like anyone, for someone who's very outgoing and confident, I'm nervous to be the stranger for the first day.
Between all that, between all the lines, did you said setting goals, did you just set yourself a sub 5 hour half Ironman goal?
Yeah. The only thing is, I don't think it's going to be in 3 months' time. Would I like to do it someday? Yeah. Right. I think if I'm honest with myself, and I won't be setting any goals until I know where things add up. Where am I going to be working? I could be working in Saudi for 6 weeks and in Dubai for 6 weeks. So it's none of that is a certainty in my life at the minute. So when we have a bit of certainty and we get into the ebbs and flow of a bit of a routine, then I'll be able to say, yeah, do you know what, Seán? Maybe a 5 hour. Would I like to do a 5 hour? Yeah. Would I like to do a sub 10? Yeah. Do I need time? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Do I have to get better at everything? Look, I know the marathon is there. I'm not worried. I've been there before. I know what it takes in that end. I just don't know what it takes to do the other end as well, So definitely a good year of consistency is definitely needed before realistic goal setting then. Normally on this podcast, you throw that back and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then somehow find a way to do it. But this time, no, it's too big. It's too long. It's the only one I've finished and gone, I don't know if I'll do that again. But I know I'll do it again, but next time it'll be on the back of a lot of consistency.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's fair. Well, you haven't got much time left in Dubai, so I think we had a good rant, and you've set you some goals. I think that's a great plan for someone to get the sign to a club and get yourself going from there. Hopefully next couple of weeks we try and link up our schedules with other people and get guests and stuff back on the podcast and build it up from there. But you've had a hell of a fucking year, man. Just go full circle from the get-go. All the different places I've seen you through Zoom, they're doing this conversation on how you got through an Ironman. I genuinely will never know. So I don't have to give you props on that, but I'll give you props and build a post on that one and wrap up this episode of the podcast, unless you got anything else to add.
To show you how bad I am now at the minute, I've got the ticket for Sea to Summit and I'm doing the long course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I'm not arsed.
Are you pulling out? Are you out?
I don't know. We'll see. It's just, I don't know.
That's next weekend.
Yeah, I just don't know. That just shows you. Like, the guys told me what the Ironman would do to me, and you know what? They're right. I just mentally, I'm like,
done. I suppose, what benefit would you feel like getting to see someone? Although you kind of have out of all the things, we talk about community things, that's one of your biggest kind of community things. You loadies go down to a house stuff down there, and it's a cool setup you guys got going down there for that.
The only difference is they'll still be drinking with me that night, whether I do the race or not.
Are you not dragging your brother again down to it this year? He's doing it. He's got a point to prove after last year.
Yeah, I might ask them when I get down there registration. Do you mind if I switch to the short course? And we'll see. But at the minute, like, it's still the me and my body made deals, and after the sickness, after the Ironman, after everything, I'm like, oh, do you know what? Mentally, I'm just not ready to check back into, because the Sea to Summit, anyone who hasn't done it, what a fantastic event. Build up to that is really, really good. The long course is a tough cycle. What is the long course? Just people don't know. It's sold out anyway now, but just so you run 4K, you run to the marina, you get on your bike, cycle 10K to Croagh Patrick, up to the top of Croagh Patrick, down to the bottom. Correct me on the kilometers, someone 37 kilometer cycle around the back of Croagh Patrick with some serious inclines on it. Like, the gradients are impressive. So, like, one of the challenges we always ask each other at the end is, like, did you get off your bike to walk up the hills? So some of the gradients are impressively big, but it's not long. You get off your bike, you run your 4K, you're done. But it is, you're up at 6, you're there and it's cold, and I'm just like, oh,
Yeah, there was one last year. You had the video of you on top of the hill or mountain, probably, and it was just a mad headwind, and you could just see your brother kind of grinding up it, and you're looking at going, I could probably run faster at this stage, but I suppose it's all about staying on the bike. It's a completely different animal. I'm not saying like obviously he'd fly, he's gone, but it's just how steep that hill was. It looked like a lot of fun.
But yeah, I suppose best of luck to anyone who is doing Sea to Summit. I may see it on the course. I may not. I may see it at the finish line. Maybe 10 hot whiskies deep at that stage. But it's something to look forward to. It's a great event. And anyone who hasn't looked it up or who's looking for, I would say, an adventure race that is a friendly adventure race. And I will say that definitely. It's definitely a participant's race. It's not there to be. I have done it 3 years maybe. I have no idea my time any year I've done it. Right. I couldn't tell you what my time was last year. I couldn't tell you any of the years I've done it. I haven't gone, oh, I should have done that. You're going up and down a mountain. So to be honest, group of friends, it's a great race. It's really, really good. Westport is a fantastic town down for the nights out. And it's an absolutely fantastic occasion. We do it every year. So yeah, it's like that community. We come back once a year. No one does any training, and we all show up thinking we're going to do the long course. And but we'll see. I'm going to do the Summit, and anyone who wants to look into it for next year, it's definitely one that should be on the calendar.
On that cliffhanger, we'll wrap up this week's episode of the podcast. That's it for myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.